The humming of the espresso machine is the first sound I hear every morning. It's a high-end, silver-plated beast that Arthur bought last month, a machine I don't know how to operate and haven't been invited to touch. It sits on the marble countertop where my ceramic canister of loose-leaf Earl Grey used to live. My tea has been moved to the back of the pantry, tucked behind a row of organic almond milk and protein powders that don't belong to me. I stand in the doorway of the kitchen, my hands tucked into the pockets of my quilted robe. I am 68 years old, and in this house, the house I have lived in for 34 years, I have become a ghost who still pays the utility bills. "Oh, Eleanor, you're up," Lydia says, turning toward me with a bright, performative smile. She is wearing a silk yoga set that probably cost more than my first car. She's my niece by marriage, the daughter of Arthur's late brother, and she moved into our guest suite 6 months ago after a difficult transition in her own life. At least, that's what Arthur called it. To me, it looked like a calculated landing. "I was just making Arthur's macchiato," she says, her movements fluid and entitled. "He says no one else gets the foam quite right. You don't mind, do you? I know you usually do the coffee, but he seems so tired this morning." I look at the stove. The old percolator we've used since the 80s is gone. I don't ask where it is. To ask would be to admit that I noticed its absence, and in this house, noticing is a form of weakness. "It's fine, Lydia," I say. My voice is level, a practiced instrument of neutrality. "Is there any hot water?" "In the kettle. I moved it to the laundry room sink, though. I needed the counter space for the air fryer. You understand, right? With the kids coming over for brunch, I wanted to prep the kale chips." I nod. I don't tell her that the laundry room sink is awkward for a woman with my arthritis. I don't tell her that I've hosted brunch for our children, Claire and Julian, for 20 years without needing an air fryer or kale chips. I simply turn and walk toward the laundry room. The house feels different under my feet. It's louder, yet emptier. Arthur is in the breakfast nook, his nose buried in his tablet. He doesn't look up when I enter with my tea. He's 72, a man who built a successful land development firm by knowing exactly which trees to cut down to make room for luxury condos. I used to think he spared me from that instinct. Now, I realize I was just the landscape he hadn't decided to clear yet. "Arthur?" I say softly, sitting across from him. "Claire called," he says, eyes never leaving the screen. "She's bringing the girls over at 11. Lydia's handled the menu. Don't worry about the kitchen, Elle. Just relax. You've been looking peaked lately." Peaked. A word people use for fruit that's about to rot, or women they no longer wish to look at. "I was planning on making the lemon crepes Julian likes," I say. Arthur finally looks up, his expression one of mild, patronizing concern. "Lydia's already started the prep, Elle, and Julian's on that new keto thing. Crepes are, well, they're a lot of sugar. Let's just stick to the plan." The plan. A plan I wasn't part of. I take a sip of my tea. It's lukewarm. I realize then that the tea wasn't the only thing moved to the back of the pantry. My role as the nurturer, the provider of comfort, the one who knows how Julian likes his eggs and how Claire needs her coffee. All of it has been outsourced to a younger, more efficient model. Later, when the children arrive, the shift is even more pronounced. Claire, my eldest, breezes in and heads straight for Lydia in the kitchen. They share a high-pitched, conspiratorial laugh over a bowl of greens. Claire doesn't see me sitting in the armchair by the window until she's already been in the house for 10 minutes. "Mom!" "Sorry, didn't see you there in the shadows," Claire says, leaning down to give me a perfunctory peck on the cheek. She smells of expensive perfume and stress. "Lydia was just telling me about the new organization system she's putting in the pantry. It's going to be so much easier for you to find things." I knew where things were, Claire, I say. Claire sighs, the sound of a daughter who thinks her mother is being difficult for the sake of it. Mom, don't be like that. You're always complaining about your back. Now you don't have to reach for the heavy flour jars. Lydia's putting everything in these lightweight acrylic bins. It's a gift. Just accept it. Julian arrives last, looking disheveled as usual. He's 42 and still treats his father's house like a drive-through ATM. He goes to the fridge, grabs a bottle of Lydia's kombucha, and grimaces. "Where's the real juice, Mom?" he asks. Before I can answer, Lydia is there, sliding a glass of something green in front of him. "Try this, Julian. It'll help with that inflammation you were talking about. Your mom was going to make crepes, but I told her we should keep it light today." Julian looks at the green juice, then at me, then back at Lydia. He shrugs and takes a sip. "Not bad. Thanks, Lyd." I watch them. My husband, my daughter, my son, and the woman who has successfully convinced them that I am an antique that needs to be carefully managed. They talk over me, around me, and through me. I am the silent architecture of their lives, the walls they lean on but never thank. The escalation happens after brunch. Arthur stands up and clears his throat. "While everyone is here, I wanted to show you what we've done with the sunroom. Lydia's been helping me clear out the clutter. We're turning it into a proper home office and a library, for everyone to use." My heart stops. The sunroom is where I keep my grandmother's writing desk. It's where I keep my collection of first edition botanical prints. It's the only room in this house that gets the morning light just right. It is my sanctuary. "The clutter?" I ask. My voice is thin. "You know, Elle. All those old boxes and the dried flowers," Arthur says, waving a hand dismissively. "It was becoming a fire hazard. We moved your desk to the basement. It's safer down there anyway. Less light to fade the wood." He says it so casually, as if he hasn't just dismantled the only piece of this house that was truly mine. "You moved my desk?" I repeat. Lydia steps forward, her hand landing softly on my arm. Her touch feels like ice. "We were so careful, Eleanor, I promise. I even color-coded the files for you. It's going to be so much more zen for you down there. No distractions." I look at Claire. She's nodding. I look at Julian. He's checking his phone. They aren't looking at me. They are looking at the new sunroom, a space stripped of my history and replaced with Lydia's minimalist aesthetic. I don't scream. I don't cry. I don't demand that they bring my desk back up. I've learned that when people have already decided you are invisible, shouting only makes you look like a ghost rattling chains. I simply stand up and walk toward the basement door. "I think I'll go see the new setup," I say quietly. As I descend the stairs, the laughter from the sunroom follows me. It's bright, vibrant, and entirely indifferent to my absence. I reach the bottom of the stairs and flip the switch. The basement is cold and smells of damp concrete. There, tucked in the corner behind the water heater, is my grandmother's desk. They've stacked boxes of Lydia's old winter clothes on top of it. I walk over and run my hand along the mahogany. My fingers catch on something, a drawer that hasn't been closed all the way. I pull it open. Inside is a small, velvet-lined box Arthur gave me for our 25th anniversary. It used to hold my mother's pearls and the deed to the small cottage my parents left me in the valley, a piece of land Arthur has been trying to convince me to sell for years. The pearls are there. The deed is gone. The basement air is thick with the scent of old cardboard and the metallic tang of the furnace. I stand before my grandmother's desk, my hands trembling only slightly as I sift through the remaining contents of the velvet-lined box. The pearls are cold against my skin, but they offer no comfort. The deed, the physical proof that I own a 3-acre sanctuary in the valley, is gone. I don't go upstairs and demand an explanation. To do so would give them the satisfaction of calling me hysterical or forgetful. Instead, I begin to methodically search the basement. I check the old filing cabinets, the boxes of Christmas decorations, even the plastic bins filled with the children's high school trophies. I find nothing but the ghosts of a life I've already lived. I hear the basement door creak open. A shaft of light cuts through the gloom, highlighting the dust motes dancing in the air.
Eleanor? Are you still down here? It's nearly 7. I thought you'd be starting the roast.
It's Arthur. He's standing at the top of the stairs, a silhouette of authority. He doesn't come down. He never comes down here. The ceiling is too low for his stature, or perhaps the reality of our stored-away history is too heavy for him. I'm not making a roast tonight, Arthur, I say, my voice projecting clearly from the shadows. I thought Lydia was handling the meals now. There is a beat of silence. I can almost hear him adjusting his internal script.
Well, she's gone out with Claire for a spa evening. A girls' night, she called it. I assumed you'd want to reclaim your kitchen for a few hours. I've been looking forward to that rosemary chicken of yours.
The reclaim your kitchen comment is a hook, a bit of bait to see if I'll jump at the chance to serve him again. I stay by the desk. Arthur, I was looking for the deed to the Valley Cottage. It wasn't in my desk. I wait. My heart beats a slow, steady rhythm.
The deed? Oh, Elle, I moved all the hard assets into the fireproof safe in my office months ago. You know how forgetful you've been with your keys lately. I didn't want something that important just sitting in a wooden drawer.
He says hard assets the way he talks about his commercial properties. He doesn't say your inheritance. He doesn't say your parents' home. I'd like it back, I say.
Don't be silly. It's perfectly safe. Besides, I've had a surveyor out there. The property line on the north side is a mess, and I'm having the firm's lawyers clean it up for you. It'll be worth double once the new highway project is announced.
He hasn't asked. He has simply begun the process of optimizing my life, as if I am a failing subsidiary of his corporation. I didn't ask for a surveyor, Arthur.
And that's why I'm here, Elle. To take care of the things you don't think about. Now, about that chicken, I'm famished.
He turns and closes the door before I can respond. The click of the latch sounds like a gavel. I spend the next hour in the kitchen, but I don't make the rosemary chicken. I make a simple tuna sandwich for myself and leave a sleeve of crackers on the counter for him. I sit at the small bistro table in the corner, the one Lydia hasn't replaced yet, and watch the clock. At 8:30 p.m., the front door chimes. Claire and Lydia return, laughing, their arms laden with shopping bags. They look refreshed, their skin glowing from facials and expensive serums. "Oh, Mom, you're still up," Claire says, dropping a bag from a high-end boutique onto the counter. "You missed such a great night. Lydia has the best taste. She helped me pick out a dress for the charity gala. It's very modern, not like the stuff you usually suggest." "I'm glad you had fun," I say. I notice Lydia eyeing the crackers on the counter. "Is Arthur eating crackers for dinner?" Lydia asks, her voice dripping with a soft, manufactured pity. "Poor thing. I should have stayed and whipped up a frittata. Eleanor, did you forget the shopping list I left on the fridge? We're out of the pasture-raised eggs." "I didn't forget, Lydia. I just didn't go to the store." The silence that follows is exquisite. It's the first time in months I've explicitly failed to perform a task assigned to me. Lydia's smile doesn't falter, but her eyes sharpen. She's a woman who recognizes a shift in the wind long before the storm arrives. "Oh, well, no worries. I'll just run out now. Arthur shouldn't have to snack like a college student." "He's 72, Lydia. He'll survive a cracker," I say. Claire looks between us, a flicker of discomfort crossing her face. She's always been sensitive to vibes, though she lacks the depth to understand their source. Mom, why are you being so prickly? Lydia's just trying to help. She's been doing so much around here. You should be thanking her for taking the load off your shoulders. The load was my life, Claire, I say quietly. I didn't realize it was a burden until everyone started trying to take it away from me. Claire rolls her eyes, a habit she's had since she was 16. God, you're so dramatic. I'm going upstairs to try on my dress. Lydia, come help me with the zipper? They disappear upstairs, leaving me in the kitchen. I stand and walk to the refrigerator. The shopping list is there, held up by a magnet from a pharmacy. It's written in Lydia's loopy, aggressive handwriting. Eggs, pasture-raised, avocado oil, Himalayan salt, kale. I take the list down, fold it neatly, and put it in my pocket. Then I go to Arthur's office. The door is locked. This is new. In 34 years, we have never had a locked internal door in this house.
We believed in transparency, or so Arthur always claimed while he was the one holding the flashlight. I reach above the door frame. The spare key I've kept there for a decade, the one I used when the cleaning service accidentally locked themselves out, is gone. I feel a strange, cold calm wash over me. It isn't anger. Anger is hot. It burns out. This is something else. It's the realization that I am being systematically locked out of my own existence. My desk is in the basement. My kitchen is managed by a niece. My property is being surveyed without my consent. And now, my husband's office, the room that holds our financial life, is a fortress. I walk back to the living room and sit in the dark. I don't turn on the television. I don't pick up a book. I just listen. I hear Arthur upstairs, laughing at something Lydia said. I hear the shower running in the guest suite. I hear the hum of the silver-plated espresso machine, which apparently has a timer for the morning. They think I am dimming. They think that by removing my tools, my tea, my desk, my keys, they are making me smaller, easier to manage, a quiet grandmother who will eventually be moved into a luxury suite at a managed care facility with the same clinical efficiency they use to move my desk. What they don't understand is that when you strip a woman of her chores, you give her something far more dangerous. You give her time to think. I reach into my robe pocket and feel the folded shopping list. Beneath it, my fingers brush against a small, jagged piece of metal I found in the basement near the water heater. It's an old skeleton key, one that belongs to the back door of the Valley Cottage, a door Arthur hasn't checked in years because he assumes the house is a ruin. He thinks the deed is the asset. He's wrong. The asset is the fact that he has forgotten I still know how to live without him. The following Sunday, the house smells of lavender and expensive cleaning solution. Lydia has spent the morning purging the linen closet. I find a pile of my old mismatched towels, the ones that were soft from years of washing, the ones I used to wrap the children in after their baths, sitting in a cardboard box by the front door marked donation. They were so thin, Eleanor, Lydia says, not looking up from her task of labeling new ivory Turkish cotton stacks. I thought we should upgrade. First impressions matter, even for towels, don't you think? I don't answer. I am watching my granddaughters, Mia and Sophie, tumble through the front door. They are 8 and 6, a whirlwind of glitter and high-pitched energy. Usually they run straight to me, shouting for the magic pancakes I make with cinnamon and hidden chocolate chips. Nana! Sophie yells, but her eyes immediately dart to Lydia. Hey girls, Lydia chirps, dropping her label maker. Who wants to help me make dragon fruit smoothie bowls? I have edible gold stars. The girls squeal. The magic pancakes are forgotten. The ritual of the stove, the smell of browning butter,
the slow conversation over a sticky kitchen table. All of it is bypassed for the neon pink lure of a smoothie bowl and edible glitter. I stand by the banister, my hand gripping the polished wood. "Mom, can you take their coats?" Claire asks, passing me a heap of puffer jackets without looking at me. She's already moving toward the kitchen, her phone pressed to her ear. "Yeah, I'm at my parents'. No, Lydia's here. She's a lifesaver, honestly. I don't know how Dad and Mom would be managing without her." I take the coats. I am the coat rack. I am the silence between their sentences. I walk to the hallway closet to hang them up. This closet used to be a jumble of our lives. Arthur's trench coats, my gardening jacket, the kids' old umbrellas. Now, it is terrifyingly organized. My gardening jacket is gone. In its place is a row of Lydia's sleek trench coats, arranged by color. I feel a prickle of heat behind my eyes, but I swallow it. I fold the children's coats over my arm and walk to the basement door. I'll put them on the old cedar chest down there. It's safer. As I pass the kitchen, I hear Julian's voice. He's arrived through the back door. "Dad, I'm telling you, the market is peaking," Julian says. He's leaning against the island, eating a piece of expensive cheese Lydia must have bought. "If you're going to develop that valley plot, you need to move now. Why wait for the highway announcement? The rumors are enough to drive the price up 20%. "It's not as simple as that, Jules." Arthur's voice is low, authoritative. "The title is sentimental to your mother. I'm handling it. I've got her thinking the lawyers are just fixing the boundaries. Once the paperwork is streamlined, she won't even notice the change of use permit." "She's getting pretty quiet lately," Julian says, his tone shifting to something that sounds like concern, but feels like calculation. "You think she's, declining? She didn't even make the pancakes today. She just stood there." "It happens at her age," Arthur says. "The world gets too fast for them. That's why Lydia being here is a godsend. She keeps the friction down." Friction. That is what they call my presence. The resistance of a woman who still has a pulse and a memory. I descend the basement stairs. The light is dim. I set the coats down on the cedar chest and sit on my grandmother's desk. My fingers find the skeleton key in my pocket. I realize then that they aren't just stealing my things. They are stealing my sanity to justify their theft. If they can convince the world and my own children that I am declining, then my objections to the sale of the Valley Cottage become the ramblings of a confused old woman. It's a clean, bloodless coup. The escalation comes that evening, after the children and grandchildren have left. Arthur is sitting in his leather armchair, sipping a glass of scotch. Lydia is at the dining table, her laptop open. She looks like a corporate strategist planning a takeover. "Elle, sit down for a moment," Arthur says. He doesn't look at me. He looks at the fireplace. "Lydia and I were talking. We're hosting a small dinner party on Thursday. The CEO of the Henderson Group and his wife. It's a big deal for the firm." "I see," I say. "What would you like me to prepare?" Arthur finally looks at me. His expression is one of practiced, devastating kindness. "Actually, Elle, we thought it might be better if you took the night off. Lydia's hired a catering team, very high-end, very specific menu. And honestly, with your back and, well, the way you've been getting overwhelmed lately, we thought you'd prefer to have a quiet evening in your suite." "My suite?" I ask. "You mean our bedroom?" "I mean the guest suite," Lydia says softly, her eyes wide and faux innocent. "It's so much quieter there, Eleanor, away from the noise of the kitchen and the guests. We've moved some of your favorite books up there. We thought you'd be more comfortable." The room feels like it's shrinking. They haven't just moved my desk. They are moving me. I am not a guest in this house, Lydia, I say. My voice is a whisper, but it cuts through the air. Of course not, she says, standing up and walking toward me. She reaches out to take my hands, but I pull them back. She doesn't flinch. We just want you to be pampered. You've worked so hard for so many years. Don't you want to just let go? Let go. The two most dangerous words a woman like me can hear. They want me to let go of the wheel so they can drive me straight to the edge. I'll stay in my room for the dinner, Arthur, I say, looking directly at my husband. If that's what you want. It's for the best, Elle. Truly, he says, turning back to his drink. I walk toward the stairs, but I don't go to the guest suite. I go to the basement. I find the old toolbox I haven't opened in years. I find a pair of heavy-duty pliers and a screwdriver. I go to the back of the basement, where the main water valve for the house is located. A valve Arthur has never touched because he pays men to do those things. I don't turn it off. Not yet. Instead, I look at the pile of towels in the donation box by the door. I take them out, one by one, and bring them back into the dark corners of the basement. I hide them in the rafters, behind the furnace, under the old cedar chest. If I am going to be a ghost in this house, I might as well start haunting it. I return to the kitchen. Lydia is gone, likely upstairs to prep my new suite. Arthur is still in his chair. I walk to the silver-plated espresso machine. I look at its digital display, its sleek, arrogant buttons. I reach behind it and find the cord. With a slow, deliberate movement, I use the pliers to crimp the copper prongs of the plug just enough so they look normal, but won't maintain a connection. Then, I go to the pantry. I find the lightweight acrylic bins Lydia bought. I pick up the one filled with her expensive organic flour. I don't dump it. I just move it. I put it in the bottom of the laundry room sink, right under the dripping faucet I forgot to tighten. As I climb the stairs to the guest suite, my new prison, I feel a strange, cold lightness in my chest. They think they are managing a decline. They don't realize they are provoking a ghost. And a ghost has nothing left to lose but her silence. Monday morning arrives with the sound of Lydia's frustration. From the guest suite, the walls are just thin enough for me to hear the rhythmic, desperate clicking of the espresso machine's power button. Click. Click, click. A muffled curse. I sit on the edge of the guest bed, a bed with a mattress too firm and sheets that smell of industrial lavender. I am dressed and ready, but I stay seated. I wait for the knock. It comes 10 minutes later. Not a gentle rap, but a sharp, impatient staccato. Eleanor, are you awake? Lydia's voice is strained. I open the door. She is standing there, her hair in a messy topknot, looking decidedly less zen than usual. The machine is broken, she says, her eyes searching mine for a sign of, what, sabotage? Or perhaps just the incompetence she expects from me. Did you touch it yesterday? Arthur said he saw you near it. I was looking for my Earl Grey, I say softly. I keep my expression blank, my eyes slightly wider than usual, the look of a woman trying very hard to remember a detail that isn't there. I might have bumped it. Is it not working? It's dead, completely dead. She sighs, a long theatrical sound. And the laundry room sink leaked. The flour is a gummy mess. It's going to take me hours to clean that pantry out again. Oh dear, I say. I must have forgotten to tighten the faucet. My hands, they don't always do what I tell them. Lydia looks at me, and for a second, the mask of the helpful niece slips. She looks at me with pure, unadulterated annoyance. To her, I am no longer a person. I am a malfunctioning appliance that is making her curated life difficult. "It's fine," she snaps. "Just stay out of the kitchen for a bit, okay? The repairman is coming for the espresso machine, and I don't want you tripping over his tools." I nod obediently. "I'll stay in the garden." "Actually," she says, blocking my path as I move toward the stairs, "Arthur mentioned he wanted the gardener to clear out those rose bushes today. The ones by the back fence? They're a bit overgrown. It's a work zone out there. Maybe just stay up here? I brought you some magazines." She gestures to a stack of Architectural Digest on the nightstand. Magazines filled with rooms no one lives in. The roses. My mother's David Austin roses, which I've tended for 3 decades. Arthur knows I love them. Or rather, he knows they are a friction point in his plan to modernize the lot for a potential sale. I don't argue. I retreat into the room and close the door. I don't read the magazines. Instead, I go to the window. From this height, I can see the backyard. I see a truck pull into the driveway, not our regular gardener, but a commercial crew in an unmarked white van. They don't have pruning shears. They have chainsaws and a wood chipper. I watch as they move toward the roses. I watch the first branch fall. I feel it in my own chest, a sharp, cold severing. I don't cry. Tears are for people who still believe they can change the outcome. I am past that. I am now in the stage of documentation. I pull a small leather-bound notebook from my robe pocket, one I kept hidden in the basement, and I write, "Monday, 9:15 a.m. They are removing the roses. Arthur did not tell me. Lydia is keeping me on the second floor. By Thursday, the day of the dinner party, the house has been transformed into a cold, glittering stage. The scent of the roses is gone, replaced by the smell of expensive lilies that Lydia ordered, flowers that look like they belong at a funeral. I am officially confined to the guest suite for the evening. Lydia brought me a tray at 5 p.m., a small bowl of clear broth, some crackers, and a glass of water. "We don't want you getting indigestion with all the heavy catering food, Eleanor," she said, patting my hand. "Rest up. We'll tell the Hendersons you're under the weather." I wait until I hear the first car doors slam in the driveway. I wait until the house fills with the low hum of professional voices, the caterers, and then the higher, forced registers of socialite laughter. I don't eat the broth. I pour it down the bathroom sink. I change into my best navy silk dress, the one Arthur used to say made me look like a proper partner. I put on my mother's pearls. I look in the mirror. I don't look like a woman who is declining. I look like a woman who is attending her own wake. I slip out of the guest suite. I don't use the main stairs. I use the narrow back staircase that leads to the mudroom. From there, I can move through the shadows of the dining room's heavy velvet curtains. The dining table is set for 6. Arthur, Lydia, Claire, Julian, and the Hendersons. I crouch slightly, my heart hammering against my ribs. I shouldn't feel like a thief in my own home, yet here I am, hiding behind the fabric I chose and paid for 20 years ago.
"The location is prime,"
I hear a man's voice. Mr. Henderson, I assume.
"but the acreage is the real prize. To get 3 contiguous acres in the valley with an existing structure? It's a developer's dream, Arthur. We can break ground as soon as the highway is confirmed. The structure is a teardown, of course."
Arthur's voice is smooth, lubricated by expensive scotch.
"My wife's family used it as a summer place, but it's been neglected for years. The title is being cleared as we speak. We should be ready to sign the intent to sell by the end of the month."
And the house here? Mrs. Henderson asks. It's a lovely lot, but a bit dated, isn't it?
We're thinking of a total scrape and build, Lydia interjects. Her voice is bright, possessive. Arthur and I have been looking at some mid-century modern designs. Something with more glass, more light. This place is so heavy. It feels like a museum.
And Eleanor?
Claire's voice enters the fray. It's hesitant, at least.
Dad, we talked about the assisted living suite at the Willows. She's going to need a transition plan.
The Willows is top tier, Claire, Arthur says. She'll have a garden, people her own age. It's what she needs. She can't keep up with a house like this. You saw the laundry room disaster. She's becoming a danger to herself.
A danger to herself. The words settle in my gut like lead. They aren't just selling my land. They are selling my life to pay for a glass house where Lydia can play the new matriarch. I reach into my pocket and feel the skeleton key to the cottage. The teardown, as Arthur calls it, is not a ruin. I've been paying a local boy in the valley to keep the roof patched and the grass cut for 15 years, using the small cash allowance Arthur gives me for household incidentals. Arthur hasn't been to the valley in a decade. He assumes it has rotted because he stopped looking at it. I pull back from the curtain. I've heard enough. I return to the back stairs, but I don't go up. I go to the basement. I go to the main electrical panel. I know this house. I know which breaker controls the dining room and the kitchen. I know which one controls the outdoor security lights. I don't flip them. Not yet. Instead, I go to the water heater. I take the heavy-duty pliers from my pocket. I don't break it. I simply turn the temperature valve all the way up, past the safety click, to the scald setting. Then, I go to the kitchen's secondary shutoff valve, hidden behind a panel in the basement ceiling. I wait. I wait until I hear the sound of the dishwasher being started, the high-end, silent model that Lydia insisted on. Then, I slowly, partially close the valve, just enough to create a high-pitched, morning whistle in the pipes that will vibrate through the floorboards of the dining room. I go back upstairs to the guest suite. I take off the navy dress and the pearls. I put my robe back on. I sit in the dark and listen to the whistle. It sounds like a tea kettle that never boils. It sounds like a warning. Downstairs, the laughter falters. I hear the muffled sound of a guest asking, "What is that noise?" I hear Arthur's heavy footsteps as he goes to investigate. I lie down in the bed that doesn't belong to me and close my eyes. Tomorrow, I will go to the bank. Not the one Arthur uses. The one in the valley, where my mother kept a small, private safety deposit box that Arthur doesn't know exists. They think they are clearing the title. They don't realize I never put his name on the original deed. I only ever showed him a copy. The real deed is waiting for me. And so is the silence of the valley. The morning after the dinner party, the house feels like a patient recovering from a fever. The high-pitched whistle in the pipes has stopped. I turned the valve back to its normal position at 3 a.m, moving through the dark house like a wisp of smoke. But the tension remains. Arthur is at the kitchen island, staring at a plumbing bill that arrived via email. Lydia is standing by the sink, staring at the faucet as if it's an unfaithful lover. "The plumber says he couldn't find a thing, Arthur," Lydia says, her voice tight. "He checked the pressure, the valves, everything. He thinks it was a harmonic resonance in the old pipes. He suggested we might need to replace the entire vertical stack." Arthur grunts. He looks tired. "A $12,000 resonance? This house is starting to eat money, Lydia. It's like it knows we're planning to scrape it." "Maybe it's just old," Lydia says, casting a glance toward the stairs where I am standing. I descend the steps slowly, making sure to lean heavily on the banister. I've started to exaggerate the slight tremor in my left hand. If they want a woman who is declining, I will give them a performance that satisfies their narrative. It is the only way to move unnoticed. "Good morning," I say, my voice slightly raspy. "Morning, Elle," Arthur says, not looking up. "Did you sleep through that racket last night? The Hendersons were, well, they were very polite about it, but it wasn't the evening I'd hoped for." "Racket?" I ask, tilting my head. "I didn't hear anything. I was reading those magazines Lydia gave me. They were very shiny." Lydia and Arthur exchange a look. It's a quick, sharp thing, a silent confirmation of their theory. She's losing her hearing. She's losing her focus. "I'm going to the library today," I announce, moving toward the pantry to find a sleeve of crackers. "I need some fresh air. I'll take the bus." "The bus?" Lydia asks, stepping into my path. "Oh, Eleanor, I don't think that's a good idea. You know how confusing the new routes are since they changed the downtown hub. Why don't I drive you? I have to go that way anyway to pick up the new linens." "I like the bus," I say firmly. "It reminds me of when I was a girl, and I want to sit in the quiet of the stacks. You're so busy, Lydia. I don't want to be a load on your shoulders, as Claire says." Using their own language against them is a quiet joy. Lydia hesitates. She wants to control my movements, but she also wants me out of the house so she can finish moving my things into the guest suite without me hovering. "Fine," she says, her fake smile returning. "But take your cell phone and make sure it's charged. I put a tracker app on it, just for safety, so Arthur and I don't worry if you're late." "How thoughtful," I say. I leave the house at 10 a.m. I walk to the bus stop at the end of the block, feeling the weight of the phone in my pocket. Once I am seated on the bus, I don't head for the library. I ride it 3 stops to the pharmacy, enter the building, and walk straight out the back exit into the alleyway. I leave the phone in a decorative planter outside the pharmacy. If they look at their app, they will see me browsing the aisles for the next 2 hours. I hail a taxi, a real one, paid for with the cash I've been hoarding in a hollowed-out cookbook for years. "The Valley," I tell the driver. "The old Farmers and Merchants Bank on Main Street." The drive takes 40 minutes. As we leave the suburban sprawl of glass and steel, the air changes. It becomes greener, heavier with the scent of damp earth and pine. This is where I grew up. This is where my father's boots used to clatter on the porch of the cottage, and where my mother taught me that a woman's silence is her most private room. The bank is a small brick building that looks like it belongs in a different century. Mrs. Gable is still behind the counter. She's 80 if she's a day, and she remembers my mother's funeral. "Eleanor," she says, her eyes crinkling. "It's been a long time. Arthur usually handles your business over the phone these days." "Arthur handles his business, Martha," I say, leaning against the marble counter. "I'm here to handle mine. I need to access my safety deposit box, the one in my name only." She leads me to the back, her keys jingling. The room is cold and silent, the air tasting of metal and old paper. She leaves me alone with the box. I open it. There, tucked inside a yellowed envelope, is the original deed to the Valley property. It is dated 1954, transferred from my father to me on my 21st birthday. Arthur's name is nowhere on it. He has spent years assuming that because we are married, what is mine is ours. He has spent years assuming that because I let him manage the taxes, I surrendered the title. He is a man of land and contracts, but he is also a man of immense arrogance. He never checked the county records because he couldn't imagine I would have the foresight, or the defiance, to keep the land in my maiden name. I also find my mother's journal. I flip to the last entry, written weeks before she died. "Eleanor," it reads, "the men in this family build walls to keep things in. But a woman knows that the only way to keep anything is to make sure they don't know you have it. Don't let him sell the trees. They are the only things that will still be standing when the noise stops. I take the deed and a small leather pouch of gold coins my father kept as a hedge against the Great Depression. I put them in my handbag. I return to the suburbs by 1:30 p.m. I retrieve my phone from the planter at the pharmacy. It has 3 missed calls from Lydia, and I walk the rest of the way to the library. I sit in a corner for an hour, staring at a book on Greek mythology, letting the tracker register my location. When I walk back into the house, it is 3 p.m. The house is quiet, but the air smells of fresh paint. I walk toward the master bedroom, the room I've slept in for 3 decades. The door is open. Lydia is inside. She has a roller in her hand. She is painting the walls a sterile, modern gray. My mahogany wardrobe has been pushed into the hallway. My vanity, the one Arthur gave me when Julian was born, is covered in a plastic tarp, marked with a piece of blue painter's tape that says, "Storage." "Eleanor, you're back early," Lydia says, wiping a smudge of gray from her forehead. She doesn't look guilty. She looks like she's doing me a favor. Arthur and I decided it was best to get the painting done while the light was good. Your things are already upstairs in the suite. It's so much more refreshing now, isn't it? I look at the gray walls. They look like the walls of a cell. "It's very clean," I say. My voice is steady, though my heart is a trapped bird. "I'm glad you like it," she chirps. "Oh, by the way, Claire called. She wants to take you out for the Willows tour on Saturday. It's an open house. They have a harpist and mimosas." "A harpist?" I repeat. "How lovely." I turn and walk toward the stairs. In the hallway, I pass my wardrobe. It's been emptied. My clothes are gone, likely already folded into the drawers of the guest suite by Lydia's efficient, intrusive hands. I reach the guest suite and close the door. I lock it. I open my handbag and take out the deed. I slide it under the mattress. Then I look at the nightstand. There is a new brochure there, one I didn't see this morning. The Willows, Graceful Living for the Golden Years. On the back, in Arthur's handwriting, is a note. Deposit paid. Move-in date, 1st of next month. They aren't just selling the valley. They are preparing to vacate me from my own life before the paint is even dry. I sit on the bed. I feel the cold coin of a gold sovereign in my pocket. They think the move is on the 1st. They don't know that I am already gone. I am just the ghost they haven't noticed yet. I reach for the lamp and turn it off, sitting in the gray twilight. I begin to plan the second whistle. This one won't be in the pipes. It will be in the foundation. The gray paint in my old bedroom is dry. I know this because the scent of it has drifted into the hallway, a chemical, flat smell that reminds me of a hospital corridor. I stand at the threshold of the room that used to be mine, watching Lydia through the cracked door. She is hanging a minimalist, abstract painting where my wedding portrait used to be. The portrait, a heavy, gilded frame holding a younger, hopeful version of Arthur and me, is nowhere to be seen. "It's more breathable, don't you think?" Lydia asks. She doesn't turn around. She knows I'm there. She has developed a predator's sense for my presence. The old decor was so heavy. It felt like it was holding on to the past too tightly. "The past is the only thing that doesn't change its mind, Lydia," I say. She finally turns, her expression flickering with that specific brand of pity reserved for the terminally confused. "Oh, Eleanor, you're still in your robe. It's nearly 11. Claire will be here any minute for the tour of the Willows. You should put on that nice floral dress I moved to your new closet. I'm not going, I say. The silence that follows is sharp. Lydia sets the level down on the floor. Her smile remains, but it's stretched thin, like plastic about to snap. We talked about this. It's an open house. There's a harpist. It's just a look-see, Eleanor. No one is forcing you to sign anything today. Today. The word hangs in the air, a stay of execution rather than a pardon. The doorbell rings. It's Claire. She breezes in, smelling of espresso and the frantic energy of a woman who is perpetually 15 minutes behind schedule. She doesn't come up to see me. She calls from the foyer. Mom, you ready? I've got a tight window before Mia's soccer game. I descend the stairs, but I haven't changed. I am still in my quilted robe, my hair unbrushed, the gold coin a heavy, secret weight in my pocket. I want them to see the version of me they've been creating in their minds. If they want a woman who is declining, I will give them a version so inconvenient they won't know how to handle the social embarrassment. Claire stops mid-sentence when she sees me. Her face reddens. Mom? What are you wearing? You can't go to the Willows like that. It's a prestigious facility. There are people there. People from Dad's firm. I'm tired, Claire, I say, my voice trembling just enough to be convincing. I think I'll just stay in my suite. Lydia says it's zen up there. I'd hate to ruin the vibe. Mom, don't do this, Claire whispers, glancing at Lydia, who has appeared at the top of the stairs. Don't be difficult. This is for your own good. You're always saying you feel lonely when Dad's at work. At the Willows, you'll have a community. I have a family, Claire. Or I thought I did. That's unfair, Claire snaps, the guilt finally curdling into anger. We're doing all the work here. Lydia is basically running this house for you, and I'm spending my Saturday looking at retirement homes so you can have a marble bathroom and a 24-hour nurse. Do you have any idea how much the deposit was? I imagine it was quite a lot, I say. Perhaps you could have used it to fix the roses. Claire throws her hands up and turns to Lydia. I can't. I just can't today. My stress levels are through the roof. Can you just deal with her? I'll call Dad. She storms out, the heavy oak door slamming behind her. It's the first time the helpful daughter mask has truly fallen, revealing the impatient, burdened woman underneath. She doesn't want me safe. She wants me processed. Lydia sighs and walks down the stairs, her hand trailing on the banister. She stops 2 steps above me, so she is looking down. That was very unkind, Eleanor. Claire is under a lot of pressure. We all are. The pressure of waiting for me to leave? I ask. Lydia reaches out and tucks a loose strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture is patronizing, a mockery of intimacy. The pressure of keeping this family from falling apart. Arthur is stressed about the Valley project. Julian is having financial hiccups again. We're all trying to make this work. If you would just cooperate, it would be so much easier for everyone. Financial hiccups. I tuck that piece of information away. Julian has always been a gambler, not with cards, but with innovative tech startups that never start. I'll try to be better, I say, lowering my gaze. Lydia pats my cheek. Good. Now, why don't you go lie down? I'll bring you some tea. Not that old Earl Grey. I found a wonderful dandelion root blend that's great for cognitive support. I retreat to the guest suite. I wait until I hear the hum of Lydia's vacuum cleaner downstairs. She's a fastidious cleaner when she's annoyed. and then I move. I go to the guest suite's small desk. It's a flimsy thing made of particle board, but it has a laptop. Lydia left it there for me to play games on. I don't play games. I open a private browser window. I look up the public records for Arthur's firm, Vanguard Land Holdings. It takes me 20 minutes to find what I'm looking for. The firm isn't just stressed. There are 3 pending lawsuits for breach of contract on a development in the city. They are over-leveraged. Then I look for Julian. I find his name linked to a dissolved LLC, a crypto consultancy that folded 6 months ago. The picture becomes clear. They aren't just selling the Valley Cottage because it's sentimental or cluttered. They are selling it because it is the only unencumbered asset left in this family. My inheritance is their life raft, and Arthur's plan to move me to the Willows, it's not about care. It's about power of attorney. Once I am placed, he can declare me incompetent, sign the deed over to himself, and use the 3 acres to pay off the Henderson Group and Julian's debts. I feel a strange, cold clarity. For years, I thought my value to this family was my love, my cooking, my presence. Now I see that my value is purely hexagonal, measured in acreage and zoning permits. I hear the vacuum stop. A moment later, the front door opens. It's Arthur. He's home early. "Lydia?" I hear him call out. His voice is jagged, stripped of its usual boardroom polish. "Where are you?" "In the kitchen, Arthur. What's wrong?" I slip out of the suite and stand at the top of the dark back staircase, the one that leads to the mudroom pantry. I am a shadow in the corner of the landing. "The county clerk called," Arthur says. I hear the sound of his briefcase hitting the floor. "The title search on the Valley property came back. It's not in the family trust, Lydia. It's not even in my name." "What? That's impossible. You said you handled the taxes for years." "I did, but the taxes are paid under the property ID. I never looked at the name on the actual record. I just assumed. We've been married 34 years, for God's sake. Who keeps land in their maiden name for 3 decades? "Eleanor," Lydia says. Her voice is a low, dangerous hiss. "She knew. All those times you talked about the sale at dinner, she just sat there and let us plan. She let us pay the surveyor." "She's been playing us," Arthur says. There is a sound of a glass being filled, fast. "The forgetfulness, the confusion. She's been sitting on that title like a spider." "We need that signature, Arthur," Lydia says. "If Henderson pulls out because the title isn't clean, the bank will call the note on the city project. We'll lose the house. We'll lose everything." "I'll talk to her," Arthur says. "She's soft. She's always been soft. I'll tell her it's for Julian. She'd burn herself alive to keep that boy warm." "And if she says no?" Lydia asks. "She won't," Arthur says, "because if she does, I'll stop the payments for her care. I'll make sure she realizes that without me, she has nothing. No house, no kids, no nothing. She'll sign." I stand in the dark of the staircase. I reach into my pocket and touch the gold coin. They think I am a spider. They think I am holding on to the title because I am soft for Julian, or because I want to spite them. They don't realize that I've already stopped trying to keep the family together. I am no longer the glue. I am the solvent. I turn and walk back to the guest suite, my steps silent on the carpet. I pick up the Willows brochure from the nightstand. I take a pen and, in my clearest, most sane handwriting, I write a single note on the front. "The trees in the valley are older than your debts, Arthur. They don't sign papers. I leave the brochure on the center of the bed. Then I go to the closet and pull out the small, battered suitcase I've kept hidden under a pile of Lydia's donation towels. I don't need much. Just my pearls, my mother's journal, and the deed. The curiosity hook isn't whether I will sign. It's whether they will find the house empty before the water starts to rise. I walk to the bathroom and turn on the bathtub faucet, the one in the guest suite that Lydia hasn't used yet. I don't put the plug in. Instead, I take a small, heavy washcloth and stuff it deep into the overflow drain. Then, I take a handful of Lydia's expensive, cognition-supporting dandelion tea bags and drop them into the basin. The water begins to climb. The sound of water is a rhythmic, hypnotic pulse. It is the only thing that feels honest in this house. In the guest suite's bathroom, the tub is nearly full. The heavy washcloth I've jammed into the overflow drain is doing its job, and the dandelion tea bags I've tossed into the water are beginning to bleed a murky, swampy brown. It looks like stagnant pond water, a stark contrast to the gleaming white porcelain Lydia so prizes. I sit on the edge of the bed, my small suitcase at my feet. I am waiting for the floor to feel the first kiss of the spill. Downstairs, the front door opens and closes. I hear Julian's voice. It's higher than usual, vibrating with the frantic pitch of a man who has run out of exits. "Did you find the deed?" Julian asks. I can hear him clearly through the vent in the floor, a structural flaw in the house that Arthur never bothered to fix, and one I have used to my advantage for 30 years. "No." Arthur's voice is a low rumble. "She's hidden it, and she's being difficult. She's refusing to go to the Willows today. She's playing some sort of game, Jules. I think she knows more than she's letting on." "Dad, I don't have time for her games." Julian's voice cracks. "The investors are threatening a forensic audit. If I don't have the collateral from the Valley plot by Monday, I'm looking at more than just a financial hiccup. I'm looking at a courtroom." "I know, son. I know," Arthur says, and the tenderness in his voice for our failing son is a knife in my gut. He never used that tone with me. Not even when I was recovering from the surgery that meant we couldn't have a third child. To Arthur, Julian is a legacy to be protected. I am merely the vessel that provided it. "Just tell her the truth," Julian says. "Tell her I'm in trouble. She always folds for me. She'll sign it if she thinks it'll save me." "I'll tell her what I need to tell her," Arthur snaps. "Go into the den and stay there. I don't want you smelling like gin when I bring her down." Footsteps, heavy, rhythmic, climbing the stairs. I stand up. I look at the bathroom door. A thin, dark line of water has begun to creep under the wood, soaking into the plush ivory carpet of the guest suite. It looks like an ink blot test. There is a knock at the door. "Eleanor, open up. We need to talk." I don't answer. I pick up my suitcase and move toward the window. We are on the second floor, but there is a wide, sturdy trellis of ivy just outside. The same ivy Arthur wanted to tear down last summer because he said it was invasive. I've spent years trimming it, making sure its roots were deep and its stems were thick. "Eleanor, I know you're in there. I can hear the water running." The knob turns. It's locked. Arthur rattles it, his patience evaporating. "Eleanor, don't be a child. Open this door. We have family business to discuss. It's about Julian." I reach the window and slide it open. The air is cold, smelling of the damp earth and the ghost of my roses. "Julian is fine, Arthur," I say, loud enough for him to hear through the wood. "He's exactly what you made him." "What is that supposed to mean?"
Open the door! I'm not going to ask again.
I look back at the bathroom door. The water is flowing faster now, a steady stream of brownish liquid that is beginning to ruin the expensive wallpaper Lydia picked out. It smells faintly of bitter herbs and wet cloth.
The deed is where it belongs, Arthur, I call out. And the house is finally getting the cleaning it deserves.
I hear a shoulder hit the door. Arthur is a large man, and the guest suite door is a decorative piece of hollow core pine, another one of his cost-saving measures from the last renovation. One more hit and it will give. I don't wait for the third. I climb onto the sill. My arthritis flares, a sharp, white-hot reminder of my age, but the adrenaline is a more potent medicine. I find the familiar grip of the trellis. I've practiced this in my mind 1,000 times, usually on the nights when Arthur's snoring felt like a wall I couldn't climb over. I'm halfway down the trellis when I hear the door splinter. What the? Arthur's voice is cut off by what I imagine is the sight of the flooded room. Eleanor, what have you done? The carpet, the ceiling in the kitchen is going to...
Lydia, get up here.
I reach the ground. My feet hit the mulch with a soft thud. I don't look back. I move through the shadows of the backyard, past the empty space where my roses used to be, and toward the side gate. I hear Lydia's shriek from the second-story window.
The water! It's stained! It's brown! What is this? It's everywhere!
I reach the street. It's quiet. A suburban Saturday morning. I see Claire's car pulling into the driveway. She's come back, likely because Arthur called her to help manage me. She doesn't see me in the shadow of the neighbor's overgrown hedge. She's too busy looking at her phone, her brow furrowed in her perpetual state of managed chaos. I walk 2 blocks to the convenience store on the corner. I don't look like a woman in a decline. I look like a woman who is going for a walk. I call the same taxi company from yesterday.
Where to, ma'am?
The dispatcher asks. The Valley, I say. And tell the driver I'm in a hurry. As I wait, I look at my hands. They are stained with the brown of the dandelion tea, the color of the earth I'm returning to. I feel the gold coin in my pocket and the deed tucked into the lining of my suitcase. Arthur thinks Julian is his legacy. He thinks the firm is his monument. He doesn't realize that a house is just wood and glass, and a family is just a story we tell ourselves until the truth becomes too loud to ignore. He will spend the rest of the day trying to dry out the guest suite. He will spend the rest of the week trying to figure out how to explain the stain to the Hendersons. And he will spend the rest of the month realizing that the woman who knew where the spare keys were, how the valves turned, and where the bodies were buried is no longer there to keep the silence. The taxi pulls up. The driver is a young man with kind eyes and loud music. Long trip for a Saturday, he says as I get in. It's been a long time coming, I say. We drive away from the suburbs, away from the gray walls and the silver espresso machines. As we hit the highway, I look back one last time. I can see the faint glimmer of the emergency lights of a plumbing truck already turning into our street. They are trying to fix the leak. They don't realize the dam has already broken. The curiosity isn't what Arthur will do when he finds me gone. It's what he'll do when he realizes the Valley Cottage isn't a ruin at all. It's been waiting for me to come home, and the boy I've been paying to keep the grass cut has just finished changing the locks. Sir, I say to the driver, could you turn the music up? I'd like to hear something other than my own thoughts for a while. He smiles and obliges. The bass vibrates through the seat, a new pulse, a different heart. I am 68 years old, and for the first time in my life, I am not the one who is going to have to clean up the mess. The silence of the valley is different from the silence of the guest suite. In the suburbs, silence is heavy, filled with the things people aren't saying and the hum of expensive appliances trying to mask the emptiness. Here, under the shadow of the Blackwood Ridge, silence is a living thing. It's the sound of wind moving through white pines and the distant, rhythmic creak of the old windmill behind the cottage. The taxi driver let me off at the end of the gravel drive. He looked at the small, cedar-shingled house and then at my navy silk dress and pearls. He didn't ask why a woman who looked like she belonged at a country club brunch was standing in the middle of a forest with a battered suitcase. He just tipped his cap and drove away, the red glow of his taillights disappearing into the mist. I stand there for a moment, breathing in the air. It smells of damp moss, wood smoke, and the metallic tang of an approaching rain. It smells like my childhood. I walk up the porch steps. They don't groan. Peter, the young man I've been paying for years, has kept the boards tight. I see a small pile of firewood stacked neatly by the door and a fresh bag of groceries, milk, bread, eggs, and my favorite Earl Grey sitting on the bench. He knew I was coming. I'd sent him a coded postcard 3 days ago, just a picture of an owl with the words, "The leaves are turning early." I use the skeleton key. The lock turns with a satisfying, heavy click. Inside, the cottage is cool and dim. It's small, just a kitchen, a living area with a stone fireplace, and a single bedroom. But it is solid. The furniture is the same heavy oak and pine my parents bought 60 years ago. It's not modern. It's not breathable. It's grounded. I set my suitcase on the table. I don't unpack yet. Instead, I walk to the window and look out at the valley. This is the land Arthur wants to scrape. He thinks it's a blank slate because he doesn't see the history. He doesn't see where the old apple orchard used to be, or the spot by the creek where I buried my first dog. To him, this is just a set of coordinates and a projected profit margin. My phone vibrates in my pocket. I take it out and look at the screen. 34 missed calls. 12 unread messages. I sit in my father's old rocker and begin to read them. They are a map of a collapsing empire. 11:15 a.m. Lydia. Eleanor, this is not funny. The water has gone through the floor into the dining room. The ceiling is sagging. Where are you? 11:30 a.m. Elle, pick up the phone. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're making a scene. Claire is here and she's very upset. We need to find the shutoff for the guest wing. 12:05 p.m. Mom, stop being a martyr. We've called a restoration crew, but they need the insurance papers. You took the folder from the basement. Give it back. 12:45 p.m. Mom, Dad told me about the deed. Look, I'm in a real hole here. Please, just come home and let's talk. I can't lose this investment. I feel a strange, detached pity as I read Julian's message. He's 42 years old, and he still thinks I'm in a hole is a magic spell that will make me disappear. He doesn't ask if I'm okay. He doesn't ask where I am. He only asks for the shovel so he can keep digging. I don't reply. I turn the phone off and place it face down on the table. I begin to move through the cottage, reacquainting myself with its systems. I check the wood stove. I prime the pump in the kitchen sink until cold, clear water gushes from the tap. I find the small medicine cabinet behind the mirror. I realize then that I am the only one who knows where anything is. Back in the suburbs, Arthur is likely wandering the house in a state of mounting fury. He won't know where I keep his blood pressure medication, which I use to move into a daily pill minder every Sunday night. He won't know how to override the security system if it starts chirping for a battery change. He won't even know which key opens the fireproof safe in his own office, because I'm the one who kept the backup in my sewing kit. The dependency I've spent 40 years building, the invisible web of care and management, is now a trap. By making myself indispensable, I made them helpless. I thought it was an act of love. Now I see it was a slow-acting poison I fed them, and myself. The evening light begins to fade, turning the valley a deep, bruised purple. There is a soft knock at the door. I freeze. My heart hammers against my ribs. Is it Arthur? Did he track the taxi? I walk to the door and peek through the small pane of glass. It's Peter. He's wearing a heavy flannel shirt and holding a thermos. He's 24, with the quiet, observant eyes of someone who spends more time with trees than people. I open the door. "Evening, Mrs. Vance," he says. He doesn't look surprised to see me. "I saw the light. Thought you might want some coffee. It's cold in the valley tonight." "Thank you, Peter," I say, stepping back to let him in. The groceries were perfect. He sets the thermos on the table. He looks at my suitcase, then at the fine navy silk of my dress, which is now spotted with dust. "Your husband's firm sent another surveyor out today," Peter says quietly. "I told him the property was private and the owner wasn't accepting visitors. He got pretty loud about it. Said he had a court order pending." "He doesn't," I say. "Not yet." "I figured. I moved the fallen timber across the access road. No one's getting a truck up here without a chainsaw and a few hours to kill." I look at this young man, the son of a woman I went to school with, a boy I've paid in small increments for years. He has done more to protect me in a single afternoon than my own son has done in a decade. "They'll be coming, Peter," I say. "When they realize I'm not coming back to fix the ceiling, they'll come with everything they have." "Let 'em come," Peter says. He looks at the stone fireplace. "My granddad built that hearth. He said the only way to get a Vance out of this valley was to wait for the mountain to move. I don't see the mountain moving." He leaves shortly after, leaving me with the thermos and the silence. I go to the suitcase and pull out the yellowed envelope. I lay the deed on the table. Beside it, I place the gold coins. Then, I go to the kitchen and find a drawer I haven't opened in years. Inside is a stack of old utility bills for the cottage. They are all in my name. They have been paid from a separate account, funded by the small inheritance my mother left me, the one Arthur thought I spent on household upgrades years ago. I realize the accumulation of my life has led to this moment. The small humiliations in the kitchen, the moving of my tea, the painting of my bedroom, it was all a preparation for the withdrawal. I am not declining. I am simplifying. I hear a car engine in the distance. It's faint, struggling against the incline of the valley road. It's not a taxi. It's the aggressive, high-pitched whine of Julian's sports car. He knows this road. He used to come here as a boy to fish. I don't panic. I walk to the lamp and turn it off. I sit in the dark, the rock of the chair a steady, comforting rhythm. They think they are coming to negotiate. They think they are coming to bring the confused mother home. They don't realize that in this valley, I am not a mother, or a wife, or a peaked old woman. I am the owner of the ground they are standing on, and I've just stopped paying for their light. The headlights of Julian's Porsche crest the final rise before the roadblock Peter mentioned. The beams sweep across the dark pines, frantic and searching, like the eyes of a cornered animal. I stand on the porch of the cottage, wrapped in my father's old wool cardigan, watching the light flicker and die as he finally cuts the engine. The silence that follows is absolute. Then comes the sound of a car door slamming, a sharp, metallic crack that feels violent in this quiet air. "Mom, I know you're up there." Julian's voice carries easily. He sounds breathless. "Peter told me you were here. Just talk to me, okay?" I don't answer. I sit in the rocker. The wood is cold, but the rhythm of the chair is steady. I watch him emerge from the shadows of the gravel drive. He's wearing an Italian wool suit and loafers that were never meant for a dirt road. He's stumbling over the uneven ground, his phone flashlight bobbing in front of him. He looks small. Without the backdrop of his father's office or the sleek marble of the kitchen, my son looks like a child playing dress-up in a world he doesn't understand. He reaches the porch steps and stops. He's panting, his face pale in the moonlight. He looks up at me, and for a fleeting second, I see the little boy who used to come to me with scraped knees. But the boy is gone. In his place is a man who has spent the last decade treating my love like an open credit line. "Mom," he says, leaning against the railing. "Jesus, why did you run off like that? Dad is losing his mind. Lydia had to call a specialist to get the tea stains out of the floorboards. It's a mess." "The stains are the least of your problems, Julian," I say. My voice is quiet, but it doesn't shake. I know about the deed," he says, stepping up onto the porch. He tries to put on his charming smile, the one he uses when he's about to ask for a short-term loan, but it's brittle. "Look, it was a surprise to all of us. Dad should have checked the paperwork years ago, but we can fix this. I have the papers in the car. We just need your signature to verify the title transfer to the trust. It's just a formality." "A formality to pay for your debts," I say. Julian flinches. He tries to look indignant, but the guilt is too heavy. "It's not just my debts, Mom. The firm is tied up in this. If the Valley deal falls through, Dad loses the city project. They'll take the house. Do you want to see Dad in a 2-bedroom apartment? Do you want to see Claire lose her kids' tuition?" This is his strongest weapon, the threat of collective suffering. He wants me to believe that by saving myself, I am destroying everyone else. It's a psychological cage I've lived in for 40 years. "Your father has lived in a house he couldn't afford for a long time, Julian," I say. "And Claire has enough jewelry in her safe to pay for 10 years of tuition. Why is it always my land that has to be the sacrifice?" Julian's face hardens. The charm is gone now, replaced by the jagged edge of desperation. "Because it's just land, Mom. It's dirt and trees. You're 68 years old. You're going to a place like the Willows, where everything is taken care of. What do you need 3 acres of weeds for?" "I need them because they are the only things in my life that haven't asked me for a signature," I say. I look at his hands. They are manicured, soft. He has never worked this soil. He has never planted a seed or waited for a harvest. He only knows how to harvest the work of others. "Mom, please," he says, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The audit starts on Monday. If I don't show the collateral, they'll move for a freeze on my accounts. I could go to prison. Is that what you want? To see your son in a jumpsuit because you wanted to keep a sentimental shack?" I feel a pang in my chest, the old habit of protection, the instinct to throw myself in front of the car to save the child. But then I remember the guest suite. I remember the smell of gray paint and the sound of my desk being dragged into the basement. I remember Lydia's hand on my arm, treating me like a ghost before I was even dead. "You're already in a prison, Julian," I say. You've just been paying your father to decorate the walls. Julian stares at me. He doesn't understand. He can't. To him, freedom is the ability to spend money he doesn't have. I'm not signing, I say. The silence returns, heavier this time. Julian looks away, his jaw tight. I see him glance at the door of the cottage. He's wondering if the deed is inside. He's wondering if he could take it. Peter is watching the house, Julian, I say, reading his mind as easily as I used to read his report cards. And the original is in a bank vault 30 miles away. You can't steal what I've already hidden. He lets out a harsh, jagged laugh. You really have changed. Who are you? Where is my mother? Your mother was the woman who made the crepes and stayed in the shadows, I say. She's gone. She drowned in the guest suite yesterday. Julian looks at me with a mixture of fear and loathing. He realizes then that the decline was a mask, and the woman underneath is someone he doesn't know how to manipulate. Fine, he says, backing away from the porch. Stay here. Stay in your dirt. But don't call us when the roof leaks. Don't call us when you're lonely. Because as far as Dad and I are concerned, if you don't help the family, you aren't part of it. I haven't been part of it for a long time, Julian. I've just been the service staff. He turns and stalks back toward his car, his loafers clicking angrily on the gravel. I watch the red taillights flare as he reverses, the engine roaring in protest as he forced the expensive machine over the ruts. I sit in the rocker until the sound of his car is swallowed by the mountain. I am alone. The air is colder now, the frost beginning to settle on the porch rails. I reach into my pocket and pull out my phone. I turn it on just long enough to see one new message. It's not from Arthur or Claire. It's an alert from the security system at the suburban house. 11:45 p.m. Motion detected in master suite. 11:46 p.m. Motion detected in basement. They are looking for the deed. They are tearing the house apart, looking for the paper that will save them. They are destroying the very home they are trying to keep. I turn the phone off and drop it into the thermos of cold coffee Peter left. It sinks with a dull splash. I don't need to hear them anymore. I get up and walk into the cottage. I go to the kitchen and take out the Earl Grey. I put the kettle on the wood stove. As the water begins to heat, I look at the gold coins on the table. Julian said the audit starts on Monday. I look at the calendar on the wall. Today is Saturday. I have 48 hours before the empire officially falls. And I have enough gold to live in this valley for the rest of my life. I wonder if Arthur knows that I took the spare key to the fireproof safe. I wonder if he's realized yet that the safe isn't just holding the insurance papers. It's holding the evidence of the special commissions he's been paying to the county officials for the last 10 years. The documents I found when I was organizing his office 3 years ago, and kept because I knew, even then, that a day would come when I would need a shield. I sip my tea. It's hot and bitter. The curiosity isn't whether Arthur will come himself. It's whether he'll realize that the woman who forgot the shopping list is the same woman who never forgot a single one of his secrets. The fog rolls into the valley at dawn, a thick, white shroud that erases the world beyond the porch. I am awake before the light, sitting at the kitchen table with a single candle burning. The gold coins are stacked neatly into 4 piles, one for each of my children, and one for myself. But as the sun begins to bleed through the mist, I realize the piles for Claire and Julian are an insult. You cannot buy back a soul once it has been appraised for its market value. I hear the heavy, crunching sound of tires on gravel. This isn't the frantic whine of Julian's Porsche. This is the slow, deliberate approach of Arthur's black SUV.
He stops at the edge of the drive. He doesn't slam the door. He exits the vehicle with the weariness of a man who has spent the night watching his empire bleed out through the ceiling of his dining room. He walks up the porch steps, his footsteps heavy and rhythmic, the sound of a man coming to claim a debt. I open the door before he can knock. Arthur looks old. The gray paint he applied to our bedroom seems to have transferred to his skin.
His eyes are bloodshot, and his expensive silk tie is loosened, hanging like a noose around his neck. He looks at me, and for the first time in 34 years, he doesn't look through me. He looks at me with a terrifying, naked recognition. "The safe is empty, Eleanor," he says. His voice is a ghost of his boardroom baritone. "No, Arthur," I say, stepping back to let him into the kitchen. "The safe is exactly what you made it, a hollow space." He walks to the table and sees the stacks of gold. He doesn't touch them. He looks at the candle, his face flickering in the orange light. "I went to the office after Julian called. I thought I'd find the deed there. I thought maybe I'd just misplaced it. But the folder with the city permits, the ledger for the Henderson commissions, it's all gone." "You always told me I was becoming a danger to myself, Arthur," I say softly. "That I was losing my focus, that I couldn't handle the hard assets anymore." Arthur sinks into my father's chair. He looks around the cottage, the sentimental shack, and I see the realization dawning on him. This wasn't a sudden break. This wasn't a decline. "How long?" he asks. 3 years, I say. "Since the night you told me you'd handled my mother's estate, and I realized you'd redirected her municipal bonds into Julian's first failed startup. I started forgetting things then. I forgot to file the receipts you gave me. I forgot to shred the drafts of the contracts you didn't want the auditors to see. I forgot so many things, Arthur, that I had to start putting them all in a very safe place." "You gave them to the investigators," he whispers. "It's not a question." "I didn't give them to anyone," I say. "I simply mailed them to the county clerk's office 2 weeks ago with a note saying I found them in the attic and was confused about where they belonged. I signed it with my name, but I made sure my handwriting looked shaky. I wanted them to see a woman who was trying to be helpful, but whose mind was slipping." The psychological irony is a bitter chord between us. He spent months building a case for my incompetence to steal my land, and I used that very same perceived incompetence to dismantle his life without ever raising my voice. "They'll be at the house on Monday," Arthur says. He looks at his hands. They are trembling. "Julian, he'll be implicated. You've destroyed your own son, Eleanor." "Julian was destroyed the moment you taught him that a mother is a resource to be mined rather than a person to be loved," I say. "I didn't destroy him. I just stopped being the wall that kept his consequences from reaching him." Arthur looks up at me. There is no anger left, only a profound, hollowed-out shock. "What do you want? Is this about the land? Is it about the house?" "I don't want anything from you, Arthur. I've already taken back what was mine. The deed, my mother's journals, my silence." I reach out and blow out the candle. The gray morning light fills the room. "The Willows called this morning," I say. "They wanted to know if I was still coming for the tour. I told them my husband would be moving in instead. I told them you were the one having trouble with reality." Arthur laughs then, a short, jagged sound that dies in his throat. He realizes the trap is perfect. If he tries to fight the charges by claiming I stole the documents, he has to admit I am sane and capable, which invalidates his power of attorney and his claim to the valley. If he maintains I am declining, then the documents I sent are the ramblings of a confused woman that just happens to contain a perfect paper trail of his fraud, a trail the IRS won't care to ignore. "You're staying here?" he asks, standing up. "I am home, Arthur. You're the one who's lost." He walks to the door, stopping on the threshold. He looks out at the fog, at the white pines, at the land he wanted to scrape and sell. He looks like he wants to say something, an apology, a curse, a plea. But he has spent 30 years perfecting the art of not listening to me. And now, he has nothing left to say that I haven't already heard in his silence. He descends the steps and gets into his SUV. I watch from the window as he turns the car around. He drives slowly, carefully, as if he is afraid the road itself might give way beneath him. I watch until the red of his taillights is swallowed by the mist. The house is quiet now, truly quiet. I go to the kitchen and pour the coffee from the thermos into the sink. I wash the cup. I dry it. I put it away in the cupboard, where it has lived for 60 years. I walk to the bedroom and open my mother's journal to the last page. I take a pen and write the final entry. The audit started early. The foundation was already gone. I go out onto the porch. The sun has finally broken through the fog, lighting up the valley in a brilliant, cold gold. The windmill creaks behind the house, a steady, ancient heartbeat. I think of the silver espresso machine in the suburbs, sitting in a kitchen that is currently rotting from the inside out. I think of the gray walls and the breathable rooms. I sit in the rocker and begin to move, back and forth, back and forth. The silence isn't a burden anymore. It's a shield. They thought my silence was the sound of a woman fading away. They didn't realize it was the sound of the fuse burning down. I close my eyes and breathe in the scent of the pines. For the first time in my life, I don't have to wonder if I am loved. I only have to know that I am free. And the mountain doesn't ask for a signature.